Sponsors. Welcome to the Know Nothing Show with Alan Elkins and Rich Freedman, who have been in the legal profession for over 30 years and now want to share their experience and knowledge with you, the public. Hey, maybe they do know a little something. Join Alan and Rich by calling in at 888-565-1470 or watching them on elkinsandfreedman.com on Monday nights. And now, here's Alan Elkins and Rich Freedman.
Good night, everybody. Or I should say, that's the second time, Richard, I did that. Hello, everybody. We'll say good night about a half an hour from now.
I hope so.
But I do want to wish you, as a father, a belated happy Father's Day.
Same to you.
You do anything interesting?
I went to the movies.
Did you?
Yeah.
What'd you see?
I saw that movie, Now You See It, or...
Oh, I did too.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
You were the one in front of me.
Well, listen, I'm not taking estrogen. We have a person in the studio with us today. It's a special guest. Her name's Debbie Israel. You might have heard her in the past. In fact, she kind of got me introduced into this format by doing a show around alimony reform. But we'll talk about that later. But let me just say at the outset, we have an exciting guest. Probably the best guest we've had in the last month is back with us, and we're going to bring him on in a minute, Richard. And if you remember, that's Dave Pounder.
Boy, I remember him.
You remember Dave Pounder? What's so
we're lucky to get him back.
I am lucky to get him
He's
back.
not too tired to come back.
Well, listen, he's done over 100 porn films. He writes, directs, produces. He's an author. He does it all. So, Dave, stay on the line. You know, because we're gonna warm up and get into that. Richard, you know how we started the last 2 weeks where I do a little segment called "Attorneys Acting Badly"?
Yes, I remember those. I remember that woman who got out of the cab
2 weeks ago. That's right, the woman that got loaded at the bar, and she basically showed her lady parts to whoever would look. That was 2 weeks ago. And then last week we had the attorney that in Las Vegas went a little wild, cost $100,000 in damage.
I remember that. Now, who do we have this week?
This week, I pulled this off the news service just yesterday, and I'm going to read it to you. Manhattan defense attorney is in deep caca, we'll say, over courthouse slurs. So here's what happened, Richard. I'm going to just read this.
All right.
A criminal defense lawyer with a randy reputation could get the book thrown at him for using language that won't be found in any law library. Okay, Paul Lieber, and I think I see his picture there. Anybody that goes to elkinsandfreedman.com not only can see Richard and my pretty face tonight, but we have Debbie Israel's pretty face, and now you see Mr. Lieber. Well, Mr. Lieber is a married 69-year-old father of two who called two female public defenders this past week, and I say this in quotes, and I'll let you fill in the blanks, effing C blank blank TS.
See you next Tuesday.
Oh, very good. All right, in a courthouse dust-up. So apparently he was standing in line and he was representing somebody, and he got a little ticked off that these women, I guess, were maybe trying to cut in line, these defense attorneys, so he used this highly inappropriate language.
He said that in front of the judge?
It may have been that inappropriate, considering who, you never know. I mean, some women and some women attorneys, fit
Debbie.
that description. I'm sorry.
I don't know if we're ever justified using that.
Truth. I don't know.
I hope they're not listening.
Well, so here it is. He blamed the blow-up on his heckling that he received while entering a plea in another case. Now, like Debbie says, maybe we can excuse his bad behavior. However, a little further on in the article, it says, Mr. Lieber has been in hot water before over his treatment of women, including a prospective client's sister whom he tried to hire, then bed in 1987.
In bed?
Now, I don't know about you, Richard, but generally when I hire somebody, I try to have it because of their skills, not on their bedding ability. And I'm sure that's the same for you, right? Never try to bed your secretary, for instance.
Have you met them? Yes, you have.
Yeah, I have met him. All right, we'll move on. Now, it says he got a letter of caution from the court's disciplinary system. It says he later had his law license yanked for 2 years for having sex in the lawyer's lounge at the criminal courthouse.
Now, I think he's a cool guy. Come on, you guys are jealous.
Well, Debbie, I've been going to the courthouse for 30 years. Number one, I've never seen the lawyer's lounge, And if I have a lounge, I can't imagine there being other. I don't know.
That's part of the appeal. You know, you never know when someone can walk in last second. I think you're jealous, Alan. That's what I think.
All right, Debbie. Well, keep believing that. And lastly, all right, Debbie. Here, I'll challenge this wise guy. He says he also masturbated in front of the woman in the conference room of a bar association building around the same time.
Well, maybe he's got a lot to show off. You never know.
All right, so we have masturbation, we have sex in the lounge, and we have calling women nasty names and trying to bet his one-time secretary. Now, here's how the article ends. Okay, this might explain a little bit. Lieber's wife is blind and lives in Israel.
Really?
So blind and lives in Israel. So what can I say? All right, enough of that. Well, once again, another lawyer, and I'm sure I won't have to look too hard to find another lawyer having bad behavior. Now, as I started to say, hopefully we have Mr. Pounder on the line with us, and if he is, can you hear me, Mr. Pounder?
I can hear you. How are you guys today?
Good to talk to you again, Dave. It's nice hearing back from you. Now, let me just, you correct me if I'm wrong, but people can now reach you on a new website that I saw today, obscenethoughts.com. Okay, obscenethoughts.com. Is that accurate?
Oh, I've got plenty of those.
Well, yeah, I mean, Obscene Thoughts is the name of the book, so it's basically the website for the book where people can go and order a copy if they're interested in the material,
Now, Dave, here's what I have for the name of the book. Obscene Thoughts, : a pornographer's perspective on sex, love, and dating.
Exactly.
All right, now that title lasts longer than I do. Drum roll, please.
No,
good title.
No, he was a math teacher. Is that correct?
That's right.
Well, wait. Yeah, except that we talked. Yeah, this is Debbie Israel sitting with us.
See, and I teach math, so I'm particularly interested in
but
this.
we're not here to talk about math tonight,
I'm not here to talk
Debbie.
about math. I'm here to talk about a second career.
All right, well, all right. So, Dave,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about the book. Why did you write it, and where can the public go out and get it?
Well, they can get it at obscenethoughts.com or on Amazon if they want. We just published it a couple days ago, actually. Why we wrote it, I mean, basically, I think that most people have a incorrect assessment of sort of how relationships are. So, for example, back in the day, everybody thought that everything revolved around the Earth, and then upon more scientific research, you realize everything revolved around the sun. Or we used to think the Earth was flat, and then upon more discovery of data and evidence, we decide that, okay, the world is round, and there's more and more data to sort of support that premise. So we sort of live in, I think, this idea of just, guys and girls being in these committed relationships and living together and having their kids, and, is sort of I wouldn't even say an outdated, I think it was never current. It was just sort of what was adopted to kind of keep society functioning effectively. But the problem is that men and women have very different sexual psychology. So men, for example, prefer partner variety, where women, typically speaking, prefer sort of a solitary male that's a provider, hopefully of both resources and genetics. Sometimes women have to go to two partners for that if they can't, get it in one. But it's not really sort of in the evolutionary interest of a woman to have multiple sex partners, where for men it is, right? Like if we want to get our genes into the future, for example, if I am walking down the road and I happen to meet a girl and for whatever reason she wants to hook up with me in the bushes, that could be a 20-second investment of my time. And I could leave, and that would be the extent of it. Where if she were to get sort of impregnated as a result of that, now she has to carry a baby for 9 months. Now she has this baby that she's attached to. She needs protection. She needs resources. So if a woman decides to have sort of a short-term mating strategy with somebody without really kind of vetting that person, there's a high risk that offspring won't survive. And obviously, the brain pattern isn't set up with knowing about, welfare systems and social support systems and things like that.
Well, Dave, let's back up a little, because the truth is, last time you were here, we never had a chance to really talk about you. And if you don't feel comfortable going here, you don't have to. But how did you get into the business? How does one literally get into the business?
Well, what happened for me was I went to an all-guys Catholic high school, so I didn't even really know girls until I actually went to college. So when I was at Michigan State my first year, I met this really cool girl, like orientation before we even started, and we were basically together for 6 years. I mean, we lived together for 4 of the 6, amazing girl, great relationship. I mean, she was attractive, smart, the whole deal. The problem was there was this inkling inside me where I was like, I want to have sex with these other girls, right? And I thought it was just me. I'm like, I didn't know much about sexuality at the time. I thought, well, this is just me. I mean, there's other guys that want to be with just one girl, and this girl that I'm with just wants to be with me, and she doesn't want to have all these other partners. So what I need to do is, break up with her and then find a girl that's just as sort of interested in sort of, I guess, a recreational sex that I am. So what happens was when I got into graduate school.
Well, wait a minute. But you said Michigan State, correct?
Right. That's where I met her.
So wait a minute. So you were there for 4 years, and how long did you go out with this one individual?
For 6, so all through college, and then 2 years after.
Wow.
I was
Okay,
rotating.
that's a lot. Did you ever?
Alan, that's more than 2 of your marriages put together.
Yeah. This is like a running joke. Every week he takes a shot at my marriage. Marriages, plural. But and it's a very happy one now. But all right, so you're with her for 6 years. Did marriage ever come up, or that was never really talked about?
Of course. And there was really no reason for me not to marry her. I mean, she was the perfect girlfriend. I mean, she was always there for me. She was attractive. And, like, anything you could want in a girlfriend was her. But the thing is I knew that it would hurt her if I sort of cheated on her. And, so at the same token, I'm like, well, I don't want to, I need to know what else is out there, that kind of, sowing your oats type of thing. So when I got into graduate school.
And that was where? Wasn't that in California?
No, that was in Arizona.
Okay, at Arizona. All right.
Yeah. And then I said, okay, well, this is my opportunity to kind of, have fun, right? So even though there was nothing wrong with the relationship and she was with me for 6 years, I was kind of a jerk back then. I didn't realize, sort of the impact that would have on doing that to someone who'd sort of been with you for 6 years, through the thick and thin of things. And looking back, I feel bad, but it's something that I kind of had to do, So I started, when I got to Arizona, I just started going out and trying to kind of hook up with girls. I mean, I'd go out to the bars and, just trying to have fun. And I noticed that all these girls that I had hooked up with were always trying to turn it into a relationship. Like, when am I going to see you again? What are we doing this weekend? And I'm thinking, I was just looking for really just variety, right? So eventually, most of these sort of more normal girls kind of just dropped me and said, okay, I'm done with this guy. He doesn't want to commit. He's just, playboy, whatever. And then when the girls that actually did stick around and continued to be a little kind of crazy actually introduced me to these concepts of swingers clubs, where couples go and they change partners and things like that. So I'm in Arizona, and I'm thinking this is just this weird, wacky Arizona club, right?
So you went there as a single guy then?
No, I went there with this girl who was a little nutty that didn't break up with me when she realized I was non-committal.
Gotcha.
You see what I'm saying? So in other words, I'm out at the bars every week at Arizona, hooking up with different people. Most girls realizing this guy doesn't want commitment, they move on, like most women do. The ones that stuck around, they were a little nutty, and they had introduced me to this sort of swingers lifestyle. So I go there with her, and then I started meeting these other couples, and we, it was all straight stuff, but it was just, like partner swapping and things like that. This is great. Like, this is like the amusement park I've always wanted.
So let me ask you initially, if you went with this girl, were there any rules going in, or you would just go in?
No. I had literally these girls I had just met like a couple of weeks ago. I mean, they were a little nutty. You know what I mean? Later on, I learned that they were sexually abused and all these things that I sort of write about in the book when you talk about different sort of gender motivations for partner variety and things like that. But at the time, I didn't know that. I just thought that they were just these cool chicks. So anyways, when I graduated from ASU, I had a bunch of job offers, and the one that I really wanted was in California, but I actually seriously thought about staying in Arizona. It was like, wow, I could actually, have this regular job in Arizona and also just go to this swingers club. So I was actually at the club.
I take it you were a regular, like an every weekend type deal, or more than once a week?
Yeah, or every other weekend. I mean, whenever people were, they were available to go. But the thing is when I graduated, I was telling the owner of the club, I'm like, I really want to do this job in California, but I don't want to leave this. And he's like, dude, this is everywhere, all over the world. I'm like, it is? He's like, where are you moving? I'm like, Los Angeles. He's like, dude, that's what I'm like, it is? So he gave me the name of some of these places, of these swingers clubs in the LA area. And then when I moved out to LA to go work for Wachovia, I ended up, just checking them out. At that time, I guess, as a single guy. And then I met people that were affiliated with the business that said, hey, we could use you as they was looking for people to play the husband. They have those sites like Hook Up With My Wife, number one, and it's like they have this, everything is all acting. So it's like, when you watch these adult videos and there's people picking up people on the street. It's not really happening. Everything's staged. Everybody, you can't
So let me ask you,
someone's in
take us through the first time. Did somebody say to you, hey, buddy, we're shooting a little something in the valley here. Why don't you come with us, check it out? How does that happen?
Well, the first time actually had nothing to do with performing. I was basically hired to play a husband while my alleged wife was. I was watching my wife, so to speak, even though she wasn't my wife. Have sex with this guy, and I was supposed to look all interested, like, wow, I'm so excited that my wife, I think this was the guy. That was like the premise that was supposed to sort of be put out there. So what was interesting was when I was there, the girl who was the performer said to the director, hey, can I also have sex with that guy because she liked me? And I'm thinking, yeah, that'd be fun. And then the director says to me, are you tested? I'm like, what do you mean tested? He's like, you have to get STD tested. I'm like, oh. I'm like, well, no. Because you have to get this special test or whatever. So at that point I realized, oh, well, this could be an opportunity. So I got friendly with everybody on the set, got everybody's phone numbers and talked and schmoozed with them. And then I got this test that I needed to get. And then I, met up with this other producer guy, and then it just kind of went from there. The first scene was actually really bad. I was so concerned that I wasn't going to be able to sort of go the distance, if you will, that I ended up sort of taking care of myself before the shoot.
No fluffer?
I'm sorry. No. That's only for like huge sort of.
I think we're going to have to take a break.
No. This is so interesting. I already told our producer, no break, Dave.
I know people that have done this for real. He's talking about an action, but I know couples that actually have done this.
Oh, so do I. I mean, it's no secret. There are clubs in I guess there used to be.
No, not clubs. They just have someone watching, or and then join them. And
but what he was talking about, just about the swingers clubs. I know there's one in Fort Lauderdale, pretty well known, and also in Hillsborough.
There's one in Doral where I used to live. And I know people that used to go there.
All right. Wait. I got a question. Dave, hold the line. Debbie, you ever been to one of these clubs?
No.
All right. There we go. Shut her up. No, me. All right. So wait a second. So let's get back. All right. So
I've driven by slowly, but I've never actually gone in.
So, Dave, it's fair to say you could hold your own, so to speak. You were good at what you were doing, and you did that, I guess, for a number of years. So here's my next question for talking about relationships. People that are in this industry, do you believe it's harder to sustain a relationship or those people to have meaningful relationships, or do they not have an interest in doing that?
No, they have an interest, but the problem is you can't really maintain an emotional sort of intimate bond particularly for women when their guy is going off and just hooking up with a different girl every day. I've never seen it work, and I was in business for over a decade, and I maybe one, maybe or two.
Google the name Vince Black. That's not his real name. He was on the cover of Playgirl in his full glory. He had to settle down. He got married finally, and he's a hairdresser now.
So
he does my hair.
And he's gay or not gay?
No, he's not gay. He's straight. But, he was living this lifestyle. He was on the cover of Playgirl, sorry. And Google it,
All right.
You won't see the private parts on the cover if you Google it and put it on the screen.
Well,
promise. I've seen it.
You can have regular relationships.
Debbie's seen it. Wait. Debbie's just full of surprises. You've seen your hairdresser's penis?
No, I've seen it on the cover of Playgirl, and it's blocked.
On the cover of Playgirl.
And it's blocked by some logo or something, so you can't see it. If you open it up, you will see it, the actual magazine.
Now, speaking of what she's talking about, I got to tell you, Dave, before you came in here with the
You'll
producer.
Be jealous if you see it.
Before the producer, actually, Dave, in all seriousness, we took a look at some of your work, and I must say, you really look like you can satisfy those women. I guess no complaints in that department, huh?
Well, again, in the book kind of talks about this stuff. It's for women. Women are much more likely to orgasm if they feel comfortable with a partner. Most of it is done through oral sex, not so much vaginal sex. There's all these sort of misconceptions that people think, oh, here's this guy and he's going to town for an hour. The girl, that statistically speaking, couldn't be further from the truth. Women, there's plenty of research that shows that women are much more likely to orgasm when they feel extremely comfortable, have known the person for a long time.
Well, Dave, let me ask you this. You'll make me feel more comfortable if you tell me there's a lot of editing going on, because when I see those and they're going at it, right, that's like multiple edits, right?
It's funny you mention that because it goes back to your earlier question. So when I did the first scene, I was so afraid that, I was in the swingers world, so I had never had a problem getting aroused, so to speak, but I wasn't sure I was going to be able to go the distance, because when you watch these movies, it looks like they're going for like 40 minutes. So I didn't want to, they were hiring me, they were paying for location, the whole deal. all this money going into the shoot. I didn't want to ruin it because I sort of, couldn't go the distance. So that's why I sort of took care of myself before the shoot. And then when the lights came on, nothing on the first shoot. Right. Then I explained to the director what had happened, and then he's like, oh, okay, then he gave me another chance. But the thing is, yeah, I mean, if there's when you're shooting a movie, if there's any problem, whatever, with any performer, you just cut and you wait. I mean, there's times where lights blow out and you come back an hour later once you get a new bulb, and that's all. Yeah, the editors do a phenomenal job of putting everything together and depicting. I mean, I've had so many people come up to me and say, hey, when you used to direct for Bang Brothers, are you guys really picking up people off the street? I mean, it looks so real to them. It looks real, but it's everything. Obviously, you guys are lawyers. You can't just put people's images on these sites and just. Dave,
let me do this. It's starting to run out of time here. How's your documentary? The last time you were here, we were talking about your documentary.
Yeah, the documentary got into the several film festivals. It got into Long Island. You can see that at riskybusinessthemovie.com. That got into several film festivals. We just started talking to distributors now, probably last week. We just been waiting on the Blu-rays to get back. But yeah, I got into the Long Island Film Festival, which is in its 30th season. It's going to be in Orlando. I want to say at the end of August in LA. It's done well in New York. It's actually doing pretty well. I can't complain. But I have so many different projects that it's always and I'm cheap. I don't like to hire too many people, so it's trying to juggle everything can be difficult.
Well, here's what I'm going to do because we're running out of time. You're a great guy, and you'll agree to join us again in the future?
Of course.
All right, so again, if anybody wants the book, they can go to obscenethoughts.com to purchase it.
That's the one.
All right, I certainly appreciate you being with us, and maybe we're late for a break, so let's take our break now if we could.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Dave.
Bye.
Life is so overwhelming right now. The emotional and financial challenges are too much. More debt than you can possibly handle? Facing divorce or other family law problems? Injured and don't know where to turn? Where can I get solid, affordable legal guidance? At Elkins and Freedman, an experienced lawyer will explain options and treat you with humanity. They help people throughout Central and South Florida solve these problems. This is a law firm you can trust, and they actually pick up the phone. They have a 30-year track record of positive results, and they make legal costs manageable for people from all walks of life. Make the call, 1-800-992-1277, or visit them on the web at elkinsandfriedman.com. When you visit, you might even meet Tiffany, the office mascot. Elkins and Freedman take the intimidation and worry out of getting the legal help you really need. Call today, 1-800-992-1277, and begin to make sense of your life.
Okay, Al.
And we're back, Richard. All right. Now, in the past, we've always had our segment, Tell Me About Your Ex, and just to bring the audience up to date, if you're carried over from last week, where we had Mr. Scalar, our doctor friend, who went out on the date with the individual that certainly had more male chromosomes than female. I talked to Lyle this week, and he told me he had a normal date. He had a good time. And I said, Lyle, that's terrible.
But what's a normal date to Lyle?
Well, it's not good for the radio, though.
Well, that's true. For my friend, I don't know.
Normal date might be a glass of apple cider and a kiss on the cheek. I mean.
All right. Now, listen, we have a special guest with us, Debbie Israel. And I know Debbie happens to be a college math professor. She's also known her work for alimony reform, but we're going to put Debbie under the microscope tonight. So, Debbie, we have a few minutes, so we want to know your best dating stories and or those of your, quote, friends.
Well, they are my friends, or were, I should say. No, I moved here in the 90s.
From New York, right?
Right. I had no friends, so I had to, start making friends. And I met this one girl. Her name is Jill, no last name. And Jill had a friend named Melissa, no last name. So the three of us used to go out. All right. One of the things that Jill liked to do would be
Debbie, is this going to be a good lesbian sex story or
no? No. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Well, Jill, is the kind of girl that's wild. I mean, she would get out of speeding tickets by, giving the police officer a BJ, that kind of a thing, and we'd go around Boca to different restaurants, and she'd find.
But did she literally tell you that? We've all heard stories like that. We had a receptionist once.
This girl did it.
Wanted concert tickets.
This girl did it. She'd find a table like you guys, right?
Yeah.
And she'd look at them and she'd start winking, and then she'd be like, "Okay, these guys are our targets. Free dinner."
Yeah.
So we had an acronym for it, FD. Excuse me. So we would go around looking for FDs.
Well, what's
And it was
FD stand
free
for?
dinner.
Oh,
and
free
it was,
dinner.
It was just a challenge. It was not that we couldn't afford our own dinner. It was just a challenge. And one time we were at a club over in Crocker Center.
Now it's called.
That's a long time ago. You're right.
Center.
Yeah, Boca
and
Center.
she had to go to the bathroom, and she decided not to wait in line, so she urinated between two cars. And I said, Jill,
It's a classy girl.
Yeah. So I said, look, you're gonna get yourself arrested. And as soon as I said that, a cop walked over to her and arrested her right then and there. All right, so these are the kinds of adventures. I mean, I'm just, scraping the tip of the iceberg with this girl. I bring my husband to be over to meet with her, and her towel, she just got out of the shower, her towel keeps falling off accidentally on purpose.
This is in front of your husband?
Soon-to-be husband, yeah.
A soon-to-be husband.
Could have been an accident.
It wasn't an accident because it kept happening. Maybe once it was an accident, second time it was an accident.
So would you give her a little slap like,
no,
come on?
I was laughing. I thought it was funny because I was in that state of mind with her. It's probably why my marriage didn't work out because I started out very immature,
All right. Now, what about your New York City days? Well, we got 2 minutes left. Anything? I mean, you were in the city at the time. It must have been kind of wild, or no?
I was a student back then, and I was a very conservative student, and so I really don't have any great city stories. I have some awesome Miami stories, but that's,
Can't talk? You won't share with us?
What do you want me to share?
I mean, are we talking about in the days? I mean, Miami was kind of known as the, cocaine capital of the
that was
U.S.
the 80s. I was here in the 90s.
So you missed out on
What
that.
capital was it then?
There were a few, leftover
banana
cocaine
capital.
cowboys left over, but not really. No, I was, I had a Latin fetish, so I would go to all the Latin clubs, and, my ex-husband is Latin, so... the more Latin, the more English they couldn't speak, the better.
Is
that
that
kind of
right?
thing. Yeah.
I mean, without... Well, I can't ask this politely, but
Go ahead, ask it
you were
anyway.
probably a very chaste girl, though. You didn't run around wild, or did you run around wild for a period of time?
Listen, I'm 48 now. I was in my 20s. I had a better body than a Victoria's Secret model back then. So,
Hey, now.
So, I had a
Let's
lot
have
of
her on
fun.
next week.
That's right. We expect you to show up in bathing suit and or bikini.
Not at 48, but I'll bring you a picture from back then.
We like pictures on the Elkins and Freedman Know Nothing show. I understand we're running out of time. Are we really running out of time? We have nothing to
We don't even have
We're
30
really
seconds
running out of
left.
time.
That's it.
All right, we had some other fascinating stories. Debbie, it's been a pleasure having you here. It's nice to see you again. Our work will pick up with alimony reform in the not-too-distant future.
Yep.
And next week maybe we'll have a little law thrown into this. What do you think?
Well, that's right.
For our legal
I
listeners.
play a lawyer on the radio, just so you know.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
I've received criticism that we're not focused enough on the law, so we'll do our best to bore you out of your minds next week for those of you that are looking towards that.
I get
Mr.
endorsed
Merle.
on LinkedIn for family law. Don't ask me how or
Oh,
why.
good.
Because I know a lot about family law now.
Well, this is a long minute to stretch. That's it, everybody.
All
Thanks
right.
for being with us, and we'll
Good show, Alan,
take us
and
out,
I
Rick.
can't wait to see what happens next week.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
You have been listening to the Elkins and Freedman Know Nothing Show, where maybe you learned a little something today.